this episode is about how, as a parent, what's the things you can do and how you can think, what's the psychology of helping your dyslexic kid. And I think it really ties into taking responsibility and gives you a new outlook on it. Hey guys, I hope we're doing alright, I hope we're doing good. Today I want to talk to us about responsibility as it relates to being a parent and helping dyslexic kids with it. And I want to not declare, but basically say that I'm not a parent with a dyslexic child. I just am dyslexic. So all I can do is really appreciate and really trying to seek to understand what it's like to be a parent and feel responsible for this child, for this young person who's got these difficulties and it's hurting their self-esteem and they're struggling every single day, and you want to do it every ounce of your fibre, you want to help them. And sometimes you don't know how. And sometimes it feels like a journey you're going down, and it's a scary journey, and you feel somehow really responsible for your child. For example, I know a lot of parents feel really guilty and because they blame themselves for not diagnosing the child earlier. They blame themselves for the child's dyslexia. They blame themselves for the child's struggles because they wasn't educated. They didn't know what they were doing, and they may have had bad misconceptions about the child, of not focusing, not being smart, all this stuff. And it's fine. It's natural. And so I've done a lot of it's a big part of dyslexia, helping parents with dyslexic kids, because a lot of times when we think of dyslexia, most of the help's out there is for the child. It's for the child with dyslexia because the parents want to help so badly. And I remember a bit of experience with my mum, having me a dyslexic child and the journey she went through. Because I wasn't speaking at all, and my grandparents picked it up and said, "Oh, Theo hasn't improved his speaking ability for cause they see me year chunks or something, or months. But they realised, oh, Theo's not speaking any better." So that was the first concern. Then nursery picked it up, and then I went to my sort of school in year 1, and they were like, "Yes, he's very bad, he can't speak at all, let's get him speech and language classes." I was doing all these and had IEPs flowing out my ears. I failed every single one of them. IEPs is individual education plan, so it's a specific plan for this child that's a bit more in-depth than everyone and most other people, because I'm more of a need, because my abilities are lacking a bit. So I had loads of these, and loads of people were testing me. I seen loads of psychologists, educational psychologists after educational psychologists, and after 2 years or something, I still had no diagnosis of dyslexia, diagnosis of a specific learning thing. Or there was no specific thing? There's no label, there was no actually thing up there we could point saying that's what it is. It was just well, he's slow, he's this, and we're trying to figure out, we're trying to wait a couple of years, see if it gets better, and going through this whole journey. And then as me getting older, I realising I'm not as smart as everyone else. I can't do the things that other people can't do. So I started retreating into myself, feeling angry, wanting to lash out at everyone, because I remember being in school, just being basically a school bully, getting angry every single day. I remember, this is horrible, but one time sitting down for lunch in a little on the tables, and there was this that was in year 3 or 4 or whatever, and there was these 2 girls sitting there, and one girl whispered to the other girl, and I got really annoyed. I was like, "What did you say?" And they wouldn't say. What did you say? So I pinched them. I had a sharp nails at the time, so I pinched one girl really hard on her cheek where left. I remember it, so I don't know why I remember it, but I left it clearly, and the teacher got really angry with me. I got told off. And there was a lot of stories like this, and I'd get angry all the time. I would say I have no friends whatsoever, and clearly I did have some friends. And when I was angry, and anyone who tried to comfort me, I should lash out and hit them, and doing all these things, and run away from school. Because I felt subconsciously, I want to hurt you before you have the chance to hurt me. That's why I became the bully, hurting everyone. And I remember one time coming home, I think this is the tipping point for my mum. I was coming home one time, leaving the school, angry, sad, depressed, you can name it, I had it. I was looking down, shoulders slumped, and just feeling like I had the worst day ever. Mum was trying to cheer me up because we got a new dog, Hannah, that was getting fat, eating all the ice creams at the park, other people's ice creams. And I was walking up, I still had my head down, I was walking up, because we only live about 2 minutes away from the house, 2 minutes away from school, so close. And just before we were about to turn the corner and walk up to go into the house, I squeezed my mum's hand so tightly and pulled her so she was looking directly at me. And I said, "Mum, I wish I was never alive. I wish I was never born." And my mum, hearing that must have hit something in her, and made her realising, I have to do something to help this kid. Like, think about like your 6-year-old son like wants to say doesn't want to live anymore. How are you going to cope when that happens? Like, emotionally, how are you going to deal with that as a parent? And my mum got like she took it so hard, like emotionally. Like, oh my God, my child having all these issues. And now he's saying this. What do I do now? So my mum and my dad got together, and not got together. They're divorced at the time, still are divorced. But anyway, they started talking. Said we got to do something for Theo, our son. And so I went to that. Because I had a healthcare plan, they were able to send me to a doctor saying he's having these issues. Basically, I wasn't sleeping at night. I was having stomach cramps because of confidence and stuff. And so I was sent to doctors about why he's having these issues, and they looked at me and they referred me on. They looked at me and they referred me on it, referral after referral, until we met a lady called Lindsay Peer. And Lindsay Peer was the one who diagnosed me with dyslexia. Said Theo's one of the most worst severe dyslexics in England. They said that to my parents, not me. And they were doing all that. And so basically what she'd done, I won't go into detail on that story, but she drew a couple circles saying like auditory processing disorder, was getting attention issues and dyslexia, and Theo's right in the middle of all these things. Anyway, time went on. I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and went through my journey. I went to a dyslexic school. That was a battle and a half of me going to a dyslexic school. And so at the end of it, I remember asking my mum when I was writing my book, Conquering Dyslexia, how was it for you? I mean, you going through it. I want your input on it, because as a parent, you're the driver, you're the mover of this thing. And as we were talking, Mum's biggest realisation was this: I had so much power with my own son, with my own kids. I had the power. I had the power in my core, because, for example, loads of parents don't realise this when they send their kids to school. The parents are in charge. The parents are, so they think they send their kid off to school, and the school's in charge of all these things. But ultimately, the parents have the last say. The parents have the last say whether what school they want the child to go to. The parents have the last say on so many different things, because they are kind of the owner of this child. And so my mum realised, look, she has the say. She's the one that made all the things, because in school they've got so many, like, I'm not being down on it, but there's so many barriers to entry for like someone to be diagnosed with dyslexia. And that's why, because if you diagnose someone with dyslexia, you have to help them. All these other things, and it gets complex. I'm not going to go into that. But like, for example, I had 2 years of EI of basically looking into me to try and find out what the issue was. And then Mum found out in a couple of months after like multiple tests. And I remember I was going outside. I was out the school so often that I missed the school play, because I wasn't going into all the music and drama lessons. That, look, Theo can't be in this Christmas play because I missed all the lessons. And my mum said that it's her realising that she has the power to do things, and how we language it in the end is her taking responsibility for me, for my issues. Doing whatever she could to find the issues that I had, and that's what she done. And I think like the biggest advice she would say to other parents and that sort of things is that you have to take responsibility of your child's issues. You cannot leave it up to the school to fix them. You cannot leave it up to school to deal with the issues. You cannot, because like, it's your child. It's I want to say it's your responsibility. And I know what I'm saying may seem harsh or may seem cool. I get it. It's so tough. There's so many things you're dealing with, and life's hard. I get it. I do understand. But I'm just saying, look, I think number one thing is taking responsibility and realising, look, my child, there's the issues, and I've got to do whatever I can to fix it. And I'm not going to leave, just because the school's going to say this in a certain way and make it seem like, oh, we're doing the best we can. If your child's not better, it's not you. It's up to you to make that happen. And I think that's so powerful. And I think when we talk about taking responsibility, it's so important, and understanding the power of it. Because I think responsibility is like power. I think responsibility physically equals power. Because if you take responsibility for your life, you're having power to change it. But if you give responsibility away, i.e. leave it up to someone else, you're giving your power away. If you judge how well your life's going by the government, you're giving all your power away to the government. If you judge how it's going by your job, giving all the power away to the job. If you judge how you feel by the night you had last night, or by the day you had, or by what's going on in your life, you're giving the power away to other people and other things. So look, I'm in charge of how I feel. I'm responsible of it. If you give your focus on other people, saying, "Oh, it's not my fault I focus on this. It's not my fault I think this." Giving your power away. You wouldn't say, "Oh, it's not my fault I woke up." It's not like you wouldn't say, "It's not my fault that I walked over here. It's not my fault I put my hand up." It is. You decided to do that. Same thing with focus. Same thing with decisions. It's so powerful, and it's like in relationships. I remember having a relationship, and then basically it's like still really good friends with her, and it lasted for about a year. And in that year, we barely had an argument. Because we were really good with personal development and all this stuff, but we understood that arguments it doesn't really matter. Like arguments, there's no benefit to them, and also the biggest thing that we're taking 100% responsibility of every situation. That's 100% of responsibility about how I'm feeling and about how you're feeling, and how I know I affect that. Because I don't blame things on you; I blame everything on myself. And if we both do that, we would see both ourselves at fault, and we'll grow up and we'll move forward at things. Does that make sense? And so I feel it was really powerful with having dyslexia, taking responsibility about where you want to go, and if you're a parent, taking responsibility about, look, this is my child, and I've got to move things forward. Anyway, guys, I hope that added some value into little insights, because that's the number one thing. And I know there's so many other levels to this, because now it's Dyslexia Month. Dyslexia Awareness Month. I know there's so many other levels about identifying dyslexia and doing all these processes and all these things. And the help's all out there. The help is out there. The help is out there for free. Listen to podcasts and message people, okay? And the help is out there. But here, this podcast, talking to you now, is all about how can you conquer your dyslexia? How can you help your child conquer their dyslexia? And I hope this would be helpful for people. All right, guys, take care and bye. So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast.